Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to May's monthly read, Lord have mercy, but April's cards and channeling meetup. If you are on my Patreon and you contribute at $10 a month, then I not only do the monthly read, which everyone receives, even if you're at $1 on Patreon, but also I pull you a card and you get the key card, which is the card that unlocks what we need to do with the energy of the month. So if you're not on that, then do be. Otherwise, on YouTube, you're getting these a month later, the monthly read only. So hello, hello. So if you are new to the space or not, what is new to you, because it's new to me, is that I have begun casting the I Ching for myself. And the message, don't be playing, but also it's a much more involved action than pulling cards. So you're going to be with me a little bit more through the process. I mean, if you want to, you can speed up, okay, but you can also see how the sausage is made. Okay, we're about to show you how the sausage is made. And then I'm also going to have to open my books on my computer because I have digital books now, because if I have to carry around books, I wouldn't read them as much as I need to. So I have digitized my books so that I read them. Play Google Books. Because when you cast to the I Ching, you have to have a specific question and you have to cast with and intentionally to the I Ching in mind. So for me, that helps. What helps me do that is to look at it. Um, so let me go to my library. Okay, great. So then our key card is going to be from the Color Vision Oracle, for those of you who are on Patreon for $10. But you can know what deck it comes from monthly read. And we're going to look at the Color Vision Oracle, which is really beautiful, but also comes with a whole book. That's why I was like, it's a lot of message this time around. Comes with this book, and even the book is color coded. Okay, so it's like something that's very involved. But right now, I just need to find my way to. I haven't used. I haven't read books on the computer like this. So I was like, how does this shit even work? All right. So how this works is I have 3 coins that I only use for the I Ching. Naturally, I noticed these coins on my altar when I hadn't really noticed them before, which isn't to say that they weren't there, but like they they had no purpose until they had purpose. And because I can only use these coins for this purpose from now on, um, they're about the same size, and they are uh, 2 American and 1 Belizean coin, just so you know. So what I'm going to do on this day, which is 4:30, not me writing yesterday was 4:30 when it was the 29th, unless I did that shit after midnight, which is totally possible. So the question for the monthly read is going to be, what message do we most need to know to become more of versions of ourselves that will bring each of us the most peace? Don't know why that came out that way, but that's the question that I'm gonna ask. Okay. So I have to cast 6 times, and you read from the bottom up. So once I pull this, I'm going to know whether I need to cast multiple or whether I just need to cast the one time, because obviously we're used to me doing the C.O.A, the concern, the opportunity, the advantage version, but shit changes. So we might be learning together what that is. So, I Ching, what message do we most need to know or become aware of to become the versions of ourselves that will bring each of us the most peace? Okay, so our first cast is shit. No, wrote on my pants. Head, head, tail. Our first cast is head, head, tail, which is a young yin line. Okay. Welcome in. Now, I Ching, what message do we most need to know or become aware of to become the versions of ourselves that will bring us each the most peace, aka the versions of ourselves that we most prefer to be? And now I have tail. Second cast is tail, tail, head, which is a young yang line. I Ching, what message do we most need to know to become more of the version of ourselves that we will bring each of us most? Okay, head, head, tail, which is a young yin line. And what message do we most need to know or become aware of to become more of the versions of ourselves that will bring each of us most peace, otherwise known as the versions of ourselves that we most prefer to be? Okay, head, head, tail, young yin line. Okay, 2 more. I Ching, what message do we most need to know to become more of the versions of ourselves that will bring each of us the most peace? Okay, I wasn't sure whether we were gonna get one of these, but 3 heads. Head, 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 which is a old yang line, which means that we immediately have we have both the concern and the opportunity and the obstacle, so I'll just need to cast one more time for the advantage aversion, unless the color oracle wants to be that card as well as the T card, so we'll discover that in a moment. I Ching, what message do we most need to know to become more of the versions of ourselves that will bring each of us the most peace, otherwise known as the versions of ourselves that we most prefer to be? Head, head, head. It said what it said. Okay, so fascinating. All right. Boom, boom, bap, shapow. Now I gotta go to the end to do the calculations. Yo, this is like very fun. If you want to and you're in your own home, you feel free to go get tea, whatever. This is gonna take a little second while I translate the second hexagram, and then I gotta calculate which hexagrams they are. I'll sort of describe it as I go along in case this is a divination system that interests any of you. I use Deng Ming-Dao's I Ching book, just because that I've taken workshops with Deng Ming-Dao, and that's one person that I consider one of my remote teachers, one of my remote. I thought he was a master. He's a Sifu, which just goes to show that you're always a student. Okay. Um, but basically, when you get an old yin line or an old yang line, you would also have to do another hexagram. So I'm going to do that now. Yes. Okay. The divining ritual formed a hexagram with an old yin line in the second place and an old yang line in the fifth place. The first hexagram that is formed is 31. And 5 are changing lines. Okay. Great. All right. So that means that it looks like 1, 2, right? Yes. Okay. And then nothing else needs to change. I'd explain this to everybody watching, but let me do and not talk so I can do it efficiently. And then that's hexagram number 1, which means that it is above wind, below fire. No, no, wrong. Above wind, below water, the opposite of fire. Okay, and that water, okay, water and wind, 59, spreading. Hexagram number 59. Am I tripping or is that the first one? Wow. That's the first hexagram I ever pulled. So that's wow. But the I Ching just continues to be like, how what did I say to you? So I was like, let me look back on my first note. And the first I pulled was on the 25th. I'm like, the front door. Okay, yeah, that is wind. And that's water. That is what it is. Okay, which means that the second hexagram is exactly the one that I got last time. So I like that I made it easy on myself. Which is that I have to flip it. Yep. Wild. Okay. So what's nice about this is I already have all these things laid out. So let me just check really quickly. That means that that's now. Oh, wait, though. Oh, no, it's not the same. Okay, I'm tripping. So give me a second. I'm totally gonna. We found the intersection of the lower triangle, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. Blah. When lines 2 and 5 change to their opposites, a new hexagram is formed. So when these are their opposites, and that is that, that meaning those are on the top, those are on the bottom, right? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. Okay, so 4, 3, 2, 2. Okay. Whew. For a minute, I was like, you don't know what you're doing, but I figured it out. Okay. So we have above water and below No, I was right the first time. I'm tripping. Okay. Above water and below two solid below lake, which is hexagram number 47. Hexagram 47, which is called distress. Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, let's go to 59 first. So interesting what ends up being made because of where you switch the lines. But with spreading, which is hexagram 59, so let's see where we are. That's 13, so I gotta go way ahead. Our concern is spreading, so we're going to talk about that. And when you pull 2, you have to read it in a specific way. So we're just going to, and there's 4 contributors to the I Ching. There's the original what's attributed to Laozi. Then there's a master who was also a king named King Wen, who added his own notes. Then one of King Wen's either I think one of his 4 sons added their own notes. It's either one of his 4 sons or his 4th son. And then Confucius added notes. Okay. So that's 5, but those are the 4 people that we have. Oh, and Deng Ming-Dao is our 5th, of course. So those are the 5 people who are going to be giving us notes, and I will tell you who's who. Okay. So 59 is spreading, and it says, Internet, don't do me like this. Go away, retrograde. Okay. Oh, everybody, it's a party. Guess everybody needed this strong message. Okay. So our concern, spreading, hexagram 59, wind above, water below. Okay. Says wind blows over the water, dispersing whatever may be blocking the surface. In spring, the winds move, the breaking ice flows. Likewise, spirituality disperses the divisiveness of stubbornness and egotism. That is Lao Tzu. Okay. And also the naming is attributed to King Wen. So it's, I don't know how do you pronounce this. It's Huan, Huan, Xuan, who knows? I'm not going to pronounce it correctly. But in and of itself, the naming of this hexagram, Huan, means expand, scatter, disperse, and it's also the name of a river. Yeah. So the sequence in the link, which was created by King Wen, says, after the sharing of delight, people scatter to their separate lives. When delight congeals into selfishness and decadence, dispersal must follow. When the pooling of exchange is over, there must come spreading. Now we have more King One contributions, which is this poem reflection. When I was 10, I saw 3 days of sun and wind melt an ice-clogged river. I think back to that time while kneeling officials tell me of scant harvests. Farmers have rioted. Southern tribes threaten war. Bandits attack the farms. Silt fills the waterways. My advisors urge me, levy higher taxes. I tell them no, that I will settle these problems no matter how bitter. A king holds heaven's force. He can open rivers and let the waters flow. And then the statement that follows that says, spreading. The king draws near to the temple, advance across the great river, gainful purity. Now, our old young lines were 6 and 5, so we can only read those lines which were written by King Wen's son. So, and we'll read them in the alphabetical order. So line 5 says, spreading sweat. We'll explain what that means in the next slide. Spreading sweat, his great command, expanding royal dwellings, no fault. And then line 6 is spreading his blood, go far away, no fault. So let's continue because this is all poetry, right? So these are allusions to other things. So it says spreading, this is now and then the last one, Confucius, the image. Wind moving above water spreading, the ancient kings made sacrificial offerings to God and established temples. This is Confucius. Okay. Now, Deng Ming-Dao, spreading, with its associated meanings of broad and swelling, implies the particles of a body expanding even as the whole remains intact. This hexagram forms an interesting continuation from the previous one where two lakes were joined. Now the lakes are not only united, they are spreading with their joined waters. The wind moves above the lakes and they become wider, more energized, flowing broadly outward, brimming with force. When spreading occurs, obstacles are overcome. For the changes, this usually refers to the overcoming of our moral failings. People can overdo their pursuit of pleasure, becoming slothful, lustful, and selfish. The changes regards these as blockages, just as a once brilliant lake that gently accepting many streams can become clogged with silt. We can be clogged with our faults. The breaking up is necessary, just as the proper flow must be restored to the lakes. The oracle holds that without such overcoming of obstacles, there will be no reverence and no service to one's country or oneself, right? Unless there is a clearing away of faults, there is no chance to glimpse truth. On a larger level, war, crime, natural disasters, and a country's internal strife must also be broken up by the force of spreading to bring about peace. None of this happens without a good leader. In previous hexagrams, we have seen that a leader must be generous and kind to followers. In turn, the leader can count on popular support. The leader must call upon others to put aside whatever keeps them divided. Clannishness, chauvinism, and selfishness must be washed away. Reverence and compassion must be strengthened. When natural cycles of change are allowed to occur, an equally natural equilibrium will usually be reached. However, if there is stagnation and obstruction, the changes regards that as a perversion of the natural. The changes regards that as a perversion of the natural flow. Obstructions must be cleared for that the true way to prevail and move again. For a leader to initiate spreading, there must often first be a dissolution of the leader's own egotism. No leader who is primarily concerned with self-interest can stay in power. No leader who is beholden to a secret cabal can successfully lead either. Petty habits separate every person from greatness. A true king must scatter any poor habits through the force of spreading in order to have true majesty. A good king must also use spreading to dissolve fear. The leader must soothe people, reassure them, and give voice to their own uncertainties. In times of war, as in times of natural disaster, people instinctively look to their leaders for guidance and safety. A secondary meaning of this hexagram might be to issue forth or to flow. which is a rapid spreading in a single direction. Thus, the statement shows that we have reached a point of great spreading. The king, at the head of all people, approaches the temple. Events are full and strong, and the king knows that the only way to avoid excess is to link human efforts to a spiritual plane. This restores balance with nature. So what's interesting is now you can only read the notes that he has written about the specific lines. So now I'll go to 5 and 6. The notes are, now the time of absolute action has arrived. The king issues his edict. The term spreading sweat means an empirical edict. Just as perspiration cannot be taken back, so the king's order cannot be reversed. The royal dwellings, or more figuratively, the nation is expanded, and this is faultless, right? The nation of all people, right? Earthlings. And then 6 says, spreading in the final line implies vigorous action, but can also imply bloodshed. The action is extreme. We must go far away, but then we must go far away, but then we will be without fault. Interesting. And then lastly, it says, the image returns to the theme of the statement. All is flowing and expanding. This is precisely the time to humble ourselves before heaven and to use our largesse to establish places of devotion. Ride the momentum of spreading. But if you are fortunate, my internet is saying it needs time. But if you are fortunate enough to have such force behind your wishes, remember to be cautious. Look into yourself and remember the second meaning of this hexagram. Let the spreading carry you along as that it carries away your shortcomings. First of all, this is why a lot of people don't cast their own I Ching, okay? Because the message is multidimensional and heavy. Yes. Ride the momentum of the spreading. Well, I mean, I think of this as when I talk to my creative clients, like if you have writer's block, if you have creative block, then you have to go where you feel creative. You can't insist that the creativity comes where it is not. Just like you don't wait at a dry riverbed for 4 seasons. You need to go where the action is, right? And if the action is in not doing the things that the I Ching basically finds at fault, right? Because there's an energy here where it says a good king must also use spreading to dissolve fear. The leader must soothe people, reassure them, give voice to their own uncertainties. In times of war, at times of natural disaster, people instinctively look to others, right? To give them a sense of guidance and safety, right? Especially someone who assumes a leadership role. And then it also says, for a leader to initiate spreading, there must often first be a dissolution of the leader's own egotism. No leader who is primarily concerned with self-interest can stay in power. No leader who is beholden to a secret cabal can successfully lead either. Like we could say Biden is the first, right? He's self-interested. This motherfucker ran as a one-term president. That shit went out the window. Not only did it go out the window, but they didn't put any other motherfucking candidates up to run. And then it says, no leader who is beholden to a secret cabal can successfully lead either. We know that's Trump, okay? Even if the cabal is creditors, bitch. Like, that motherfucker owes people left, right, and center. And so neither of them can lead for long, right? And then it says, petty habits separate every person from greatness. Say it again. Petty habits separate every person from greatness, which is big mind your fucking business energy, okay? It's do the business that makes you, right? Yes, O's and secrets as well. I sure does. Definitely on Putin's speed dial. We know that. And so it says, a true king must scatter any poor habits through the force of spreading in order to have true majesty. And the force of spreading is dissolving your own egotism. And then it says, when natural cycles of change are allowed to occur, an equally natural equilibrium will usually be reached. However, if there's a stagnation and obstruction, aka limitation, supremacy ideation, nihilism, white societal patriarchy, the changes regards that as a perversion of the natural flow. Yes, because existence is turning out what it's turning out, whether human beings of any particular kind have appreciation for that or not. The facts are the facts. Okay. So obstructions must be cleared, aka limitations must be cleared for the true way to prevail and move again, right? That people need to be in their lane in the order of that which is actually serves them. But that's the interesting thing, right? That's our first hexagram. But our second hexagram is 47, distress. And you know how much I could just one more time. Okay, I did it right. Like, okay, bitch, like for real though. 47. Let's see. That was 59. Okay, that's 40. And in 47, because it's the second hexagram, we don't read any lines. We just read the general advice. That's 46. So 47 is our opportunity or our obstacle, right? Which is distress. Lake above, water below. A lake drains water into a deep pit. The lake is thereby exhausted. Joy, represented by the lake, drains away into the dangerous hole, leading to feelings of oppression. Says the name of this one hexagram is kun, Kun, which technically means its definition: difficult, hard, poor, tired, weary, fatigued, to trouble, to worry, to be stranded, hard pressed. Those are all the meanings, excuse me. The sequence and the link. Rapid ascending must eventually meet obstacles and difficulties. My horse bucked and threw me. I crawled from the brambles, cut and bloodied. I should have seen the signs, but I shrugged off my luck. Even as I gambled away my house, I swore I would win big. My wife turned pale and bled unchecked for months. We quarreled every day over my foolishness, but I had not yet learned. I bullied others with my fists and cut them with my tongue. 2 years ago, my son was arrested for treason. I lost him to stone walls and iron bars. Only then did I stop and repent. I gave silver to the poor and paid to build a shrine. The stranger leaned forward, rolling one eye, and grinned, then asked me if I would buy him wine. The statement says, distress continue for a pure and great person, fortune, no fault. What is said is not trusted. Then we go directly to the image. A lake without water, distress. The noble one devotes her life to fulfill her will. Distress for the superior person can yet be a time of great success. Although difficulties, lemonade anybody, although difficulties hamper us, or we fail to solve our problems, or weariness drains into exhaustion, there is a secret in the maelstrom of distress that yet can help us. If we were once the soaring tree of the preceding hexagram, we now find ourselves in a ravine with no room for roots, no sunlight for leaves. Some people find poetry in stunted trees, but stunting never means a long or healthy life. Distress is when self-possession is most needed. We must know ourselves and know what we want. Otherwise, perseverance becomes endurance without reason. We just gonna read that one more time because that was a read from the ancients. As I read as fulfilled. This was like thousands of years ago. Okay. Distress is when self-possession is most needed. We must know ourselves and know what we want. Otherwise, perseverance becomes endurance without reason. It is precisely during this time that we must keep our intrinsic values. When nothing works, we must return to what we most deeply believe. To surrender to distress is to lose all our meaning. To keep our values is to work toward victory. When our troubles end, we will be well positioned to make progress again. So if only small acts are open to you, perform those small acts. If darkness is pervasive, make use of the darkness. Vines may trap us, but we can make them into ropes and baskets. We can make something useful of misfortune only if we know what is right. We must have the wisdom to know that distress will end. One of the greatest worries is poverty. We are hungry and vulnerable to other people, distressing us all the more. Poverty cannot be overcome all at once, but we can gradually build our resources through education, hard work, and savings. Some people are surprised by this, thinking that spirituality means being non-material. Being non-material is not the same as being without wealth. Oh, okay, I mean, I'll read it again if honest. Being non-material is not the same as being without wealth. We can utilize the freedom that wealth provides and not be enslaved to riches. By using our wealth to help those more unfortunate than ourselves, and by offering our wealth to higher purposes, we can learn to handle wealth and mitigate the chance for disaster. The hexagram of distress does not just mean misfortune that happens to us. It is also a warning not to oppress others. That is easy, you might think. You are sure you will not be cruel to others. However, many have been surprised and have regretted how sudden fortune changed them. Those are the people who have not refined their inner value and virtue. Sorry, I said those are the people who have not refined their inner virtue. Those are people who ride with fortune. Those are the people who will be pulled under in times of distress. One of the principal strengths of the changes is how it gives encouragement and guidance when circumstances are bad. In the statement, we experience serious distress, symbolized by the line, "What is said is not trusted." We are sincere, but no one believes or supports us. This sense of isolation characterizes the misfortunes so often mentioned in the changes. The oracle does not mind adversity, but it considers those times when we find ourselves isolated and alienated to be among the worst of predicaments. Nevertheless, it says, continue. We must look for the subtle strands that we might follow to new fortune. If we emulate the purity of a great person and we remain without fault, we will be successful. And then it says a bad situation can always get worse. And then we're not reading the lines, so we're going to skip ahead. And it says, the image shows a lake drained. What does it say? Okay, yes. It says the image shows a lake drained of water. Distress is to lose the very substance that gives us life. Nevertheless, look at what the noble person should do in this situation. She must not abandon her faith in herself. She must devote her life to fulfilling her will. To have such strength when one's lake is drained is truly to have spiritual strength. Devote your life to following your will. There are few other words so worth remembering. So I really feel like that was really fucking clear, so I don't really know if I need to say anything else about that. But, each we knowing. So let's see. Where is the advantage and the aversion coming from? Of course, it's still the I Ching. I should have known. Anyway, so we're going to cast one more time. Once more into the breach, dear friends. We'll see. I don't know that we're going to get a special one, because when they don't have an old yin line or an old yang line, you just read them directly, no lines, right? So let's see. Okay. I Ching, given the wealth of knowledge that you have provided with the concern and the opportunity and the obstacle card, how may we best fortify our character to become the versions of ourselves that we most prefer? Three tails, old yin line. Okay. We're getting two reads. It's gonna be two. Three tails. Tailspin. So let's see. Three tails brings us. We have another. It's gonna be another read for filth, folks. I just want you to know ahead of time that the I Ching is like, I said what I said. Okay. Also, Taurus season, so thorough anyone? Meticulous? Anybody? Okay. So 3 tails, old yin line. Okay, that's a line with an X and then a line. Also, let me remember my motherfucking question. Given the wealth of knowledge, I Ching, that you provided us with the concern and the opportunity card, what is the best way to fortify our character in order to become the versions of ourselves that we most prefer going forward? Head, tail. Head, tail, which is a young yin line. Okay. I Ching, given the depth of knowledge provided by the concern and the opportunity and obstacle card, what is the best way for us to fortify our character in order to become versions of ourselves that we most prefer going forward? Tail, head. Tail, head, which is a young line. Yang lines are unbroken, yin lines are broken. I Ching, given the depth of knowledge that you provided us with the concern and the opportunity obstacle card, what is the best way for us to fortify our character in order to become the versions of ourselves that we most prefer going forward? Tail, head. Young line, which means another straight line. Okay. I Ching, given the depth of knowledge that you provided with the concern and the opportunity on the obstacle card, what is the best way to fortify our character in order to become the version of ourselves that we most prefer going forward? Head. Old young line. Okay. You know, though, what's so funny about this? Not me casting twice about the same issue and it giving me the same reading twice, and them all being young yin and young lines. And that's when your mind starts doing the most neggy shit, where it's like, well, maybe it was a fluke that it hit them old young and old young. No, bitch. The message was the message. Okay. So head, which means a line with a circle and then a line. Okay. And then last but not motherfucking least, we might not even get to the color oracle because it might be the key card, but we'll see. I Ching, given the depth and wealth of knowledge that you provided with the opportunity and the obstacle card and the concern card, what is the best way to fortify our character in order to become the versions of ourselves that we most prefer going forward? Head, tail. Head, tail, which is a young yin line. Okay. Now we go to the end. La 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 la. Okay. I skipped 2 cards. All right. So now I gotta redo these motherfucking 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when there's a young yin line, when there's an old yin line, you just make it a young yin line. Chomp, chomp, okay, chomp. Straight line. When it's an old young line, you just make it a young line. Straight line. Okay. Then when you remake the bitch, respectfully, you switch find the hexagram in the table by looking to the bottom. Read the commentary. Yeah. When lines 2 and 5 change to their opposites, a new hexagram is formed. Okay. So then that will be an old young line. When 2 and line change to their opposites. Exactly. Okay, so that's an old yang line, young yin line, young yang line, young yang line, young yin line, young yin line. It's crazy. I don't know who figured that shit out. That nigga was a master. Hold on. uh, Hello. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Someone called me and muted me. Okay, so find the hexagram in the table by looking. Okay, the other lines do not change. Lines are changing lines. I change them to the young ones. Then you flip them to their old lines. Okay. The new hexagram is formed. That one changed to that. And that one changed to that. Okay, shit. Yeah, I'm doing it right. Okay, so for our first hexagram for our character card, we have above two solids and a broken. Above lake, below one solid, two broken, below mountain. Together, these make 31 feeling. Interesting. Hexagram 31, which is feeling. Then our second hexagram is above thunder and below fire. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Above thunder, below fire makes 55, hexagram 55, which is your girl's getting into her upper 30s. She might need some glasses. Um, Above thunder, below fire. Plentiful. Number 55. Plentiful. I like the sound of that. Okay. Speaking of plentiful, I have to go pee real quickly. So I'm going to mute this. I'll be right back. Okay. So we're going to go to 31. Feeling. Oh, not me going directly to the motherfucking. I went directly to that. Okay. I went directly to 31. Okay. The hexagram is above, lake above, mountain below. It says the mountain below, representing a strong and quiet person, supports the lake, symbolizing joy and cheerfulness. In the upper trigram, this alludes to attraction and courtship. Uh, it's the name of this hexagram is Xian, Xian, Zhan, Jin, Xuan. I don't know how to pronounce it, but its definition includes all of these meanings, all completely, fully, wholly, according to several sources. The word should actually be gan. The word combines Zhan with the radical for heart. Interesting. So it says it also means feeling, sensation, emotion, affect, move, touch, to be grateful, to find, to sense, to perceive, and to respond. It says the sequence and the link. And remember, this is our character card. What about our character can help us or hurt us in these circumstances? So it says, only after heaven and earth, water and fire have been established is there yin and yang of human attraction. Fields lie frozen, branches stand bare, a caravan rides from the fog. Led by a girl from beyond the frontier, she leaps from her camel waving, tiny mirrors glint on her vest. Men unload chests with spice and cloth. She drapes her arm with yellow silk. Townspeople chatter and crowd around her. She herds them back into a loop, and I am roped into the crowd. As she urges people to buy, her eyes remain steady on me. Others hear her banter. I hear her song. She pours rubies into my hands. I linger over her chance touch. Tomorrow she leads her camels to her home of honey and wine. I must ride behind her, gripping her waist to the lakes that rise and dissolve, mountains and borders forever. The statement, feeling pervasive with gainful purity, taking a spouse brings fortune. Okay, so now we only get to read lines 1 and 5. So line 1 says, feeling in the big toe. And line 5 says, feeling in the spine, no fault. Interesting. Feeling in the big toe, feeling in the spine. And Confucius says, lake on a mountain, feeling, the noble one accepts people openly. Deng Ming-Dao says, feeling, sensation, excitement, movement, touching, these lead us into love. Without attraction between two people or more, right? Neither families nor nations would exist. We all understand this. Every society supports courtship and marriage, except, maybe not all children, but courtship and marriage. When love's first touch comes, feelings explode in clouds of longing. Our limbs fill with the pressure of hot mist. Each touch makes that cloud tremble and mass towards the point of contact. Every feeling that comes awakens a desire to give that feeling back, to be two clouds that collide, unite, finally to burst, their lightning and thunder radiating out into a world that no one else can know. Two bodies become one, a one that admits to nothing else. Why did this feeling never come before? Why is this feeling something so unlike anything else? This touching has no metaphor. Feeling is its own metaphor, feeding on itself, turning on itself, not allowing any language to escape, but allowing only a pulling deeper into itself, so that every spark, sun, ocean, and sky collapses into its vortex. The first parting is painful, yet it is a pain that teaches its own lesson of return. Impatience pricks our skin as each moment flakes dully away from us. Desire builds in us a jungle lake pooling, brimming with warm rain and red clay running in rivulets, a fullness splashing with the slightest breeze. One more drop, one more breeze, and the lake will overflow. When the lover comes, excitement arises at the thought of how the lover's desire has been building too, piling layer upon layer, building up masses of longing, thrusting up to a high peak that overshadows everything else. Our lover comes back into sight. Larger than our memory, looming big as a mountain, monstrous, frightening, with a shadow that casts all things into cold night. And we laugh and smile, and know that with one finger we can transform that massive wall of rock into a pyre of which we will on which we will lie, to die in its flames and reawaken in the image our lover has of us. What is important? What is normal? This feeling, so wonderfully shared, becomes the new imperative, the new normalcy. The pounding, the buzzing, the dizziness, those are all just fibers in a gauzy screen that suddenly parts to show the sun rising on our own paradise. What a change. Finding a lover initiates a journey through change that cannot be known any other way. Every sage, every prophet has had to bow before love. Yes, throughout the centuries, many have tried to curb love, but all have failed. No whip, no thorn, no snowy cave can extinguish the fires that burn in us. It is foolish to try. Extinguish that fire and you extinguish yourself, with no one there to reignite you. Touch emotion, become the friend of feeling, and do not oppose it. The changes also reminds us of the importance of feeling as we consider the future, whether by intuition or bodily sensations, whether it is a pain in our joints that we associate with coming rain, or a twitching that we believe tells us someone is approaching. This hexagram reminds us that unusual movements in our bodies provide us to take note and to wonder. Of course, we must still make a decision. That is the crux of all divination. We may be given a view of our situation, but it is still incumbent on us to act. The statement lets us know that we may have feelings, but that we should continue, explore them thoroughly, work for positive outcomes, and remain pure in character. At no time is this need to ally feeling with thought and character more important than when we choose a spouse. We may have the mysterious feelings that cause us to move toward one particular person, but we must also determine whether the factors for benefit and purity are there. As the lines return to the theme of bodily sensations in combination with movement, I'm only going to read 1 and 5. Feeling is the big toe, symbolizes just the beginnings of sensing. The next 2 lines warn about feelings that may not be good to follow. Line 5. Tingling in the spine signifies a central and deeply felt feeling, and there is no fault in trusting that. It can also refer to the feeling of energy that courses through us when we are exerting ourselves. Then we skip to the image. A lake on a mountain is open to the sky and yet elevated above the plains. In the same way, the elevated wise person learns from the lake to be open and to receive others with equanimity. When feeling comes, don't be foolish. Feelings are real. Without them, life is a barren mountain. Woo! So, first of all, like, to carry the feelings yourself in the visions in the liminal space, there's a card that says carry your weather, right? So there's this message here with, you know, having respect and reverence for love and not gaslighting yourself and understanding that feelings are real. And then there is the challenge that if you're going to focus that feeling or the cultivation of that feeling or work in the maintenance and building of such a feeling with other people, that you have to be wise in your choices, right? Whether that relationship, that particular person, whether the factors of benefit and purity are there, right? Like, do you better one another? Benefit. And does the relation clarify or confuse, right? That's how I think of purity, clarification or cloudiness. Like a diamond, okay? And then it also says, like, feeling in the big toe symbolizes just the beginning of sensing, right? Like, at the beginning, we're caught up in the thralls of the feeling, right? The heavenly landscape, so to speak. And then it says, tingling in the spine signifies a central and deeply felt feeling, and there's no fault in trusting that. Can also refer to the feeling of energy that courses through us when we are exerting ourselves, right? Like the being drawn towards the deeper love makes sense. And I think all humanity has been working towards this for each other for the entirety of our species. But that's not going to be without the expulsion of all the negative feelings and ideas and beliefs that have led us to not have that feeling already. So there's also the recognition of, like, allowing yourself to recognize where the feelings come, and then allowing those feelings to be informative so that you can make decisions. Because I really like that. It says that is the crux of all divination. We may be given a view of our situation, but it is still incumbent upon us to act, right? Like that's why I always tell my clients, act the way that you need to feel. Um, don't fake it till you make it. If you need to feel grace, then you need to invoke more people, places, and things that actually, uh, what do they say? Benefit and purity, allow benefit and purity in that regard, right? You need to simulate that experience. Now, next we have 55, which is plentiful. So, I mean, they both sound positive as far as our character is concerned. But we shall see. Oh, I'm way off in the 40s. Okay. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. Plentiful. Thunder below, fire below. Let me just see. All right, we're no longer pulling from the color vision, so this is the key card. This next one, plentiful. So, hi to the monthly readers. Thank you so much for being here.